Hey guys, it's the Junior Coder, and welcome back to the Introduction to Raspberry Pi 4 tutorial series. This is the third part of this series, and in this part, we're going to be taking a look at how to use an LED. So, let's get right into it. Now, before we build the projects, we have to go over the parts used in this tutorial. So, first, we need a breadboard, then two female-to-male jumper wires, a 220 ohm resistor, one male-to-male jumper wire, and of course, an LED. Now the LED can be any color you want, but in this tutorial, I've chosen red, but any other color should also work. So now that we're done that, we can get into how to build this project. So let's start by looking at the Raspberry Pi itself. As you can see, the Raspberry Pi has some pins in the bottom. We call these pins GPIO pins. As I said earlier in the series, GPIO stands for General Purpose Input-Output. So the Pi has a total of 40 GPIO pins. In this tutorial, we're only going to be looking at the bottom right corner. So if you remember, I told you that there are more than one ways to power up the breadboard. And using GPIO pins are another way. So some of the pins are 5 volts, some of them are 3 volt, and we even have grounds. So get two of these female to male jumper wires, and we're gonna plug them in to different GPIO pins. So one of them should go to the bottom right corner. That is the 5 volt pin. So any jumper wire that is connected to that pin gets 5 volts of power supply. So right after we're done that, we're gonna get another one of these jumper wires, and we're gonna connect that to the third pin on the bottom. So that is a ground pin. Now the ground is going to be what completes the circuit. So basically you need the circuit to be complete, like this, for anything to actually happen. Otherwise it just won't work. Now once we've done that, we're actually going to hook these up to our breadboard. Now if you look at the breadboard here, you'll see that we have a positive rail and a negative rail. So we're going to plug the positive wire into any slot in this red rail. The way that this red rail works is that when you plug something in here, there's a metal strip underneath that attaches to all these other holes. Now for ground, we're going to do the same thing, but instead of the red rail, we're going to plug it into any slot on the blue rail. So red is for positive and blue is for negative. Now the way that the breadboard works, you see the rows like this, for example row 10. How this works is that if you plug something in this pin, all of the other pins in that row will get the same charge from that. You guys might not understand it right now, but as we do more projects with the breadboard, you'll get more familiar with it. So basically the rails go horizontally and the rows go vertically. So now that we've plugged into the positive and negative rail, we can start plugging in the LED. Now LED stands for Light-Emitting Diode. And if you look at it, you can see that it has two sides. The shorter side is the ground, and the longer side is the positive side. That's what's going to be getting all the voltage. So you can plug that in any row. And then we need a male-to-male jumper wire. So we can plug that in a pin that is in the positive rail. And then we'll connect that to the same row to the positive side of the LED. Remember, that is the longer side. So once we've done that, we'll need a resistor. Now the reason we're using a resistor is that these LEDs don't actually use enough voltage, which means that when we pass through the LED, too much current will be coming out of our LED into our Raspberry Pi, which means that it could possibly short. So to prevent that from happening, we'll use a resistor. So you need a 220 ohm resistor. Ohm is a unit which expresses the resistance in a circuit. So now that you know what a resistor does, we can set up a resistor so it goes into this negative rail. Then I'm going to plug in the other side of the resistor so that it matches up with the negative side of the LED. So now we have a complete circuit. So if we turn our Raspberry Pi on, we can see that our LED lights up. This is happening because we're getting constant power from the 5 volt pin. So we've been able to turn on this LED. So now I'm going to show you guys how to do this from code. We're going to be using Python programming language to code, and if you don't know Python yet, you can check out my full series on Introduction to Python. I'll leave a link to that in the description. So all we have to do to modify this, all we need to modify this is first we're going to unplug our Raspberry Pi. So I'm going to move the breadboard out of the way. And now we're going to move the pin that is giving us voltage, so this 5-volt pin. We're going to move it to another pin called GPIO4, which will allow us to control this from code. So what I'm going to do now is simply take out this one from that back right 5-volt pin. And what I'm going to do is move it over so that it's up on this top row 4 pins over. So now you can see that it's 4 pins to the left on the top. So now what I'm going to do is show you guys how to program to use this pin to turn on our LED from code. So let's go ahead and do that now. So as you can see on the left is our LED. Right now it's off. And on the right we have our Raspberry desktop. So what I'm going to do now is show you how we can actually use the circuit we set up to turn on and off a red LED. So to write Python code in Raspberry Pi, first you need to go to the top left corner and click on the Raspberry Pi logo. Then you go to Programming and click on Python IDE. So now when we have that open, we're going to click New. So that should make a new program for us. And then we're going to import a module. That module is called GPIO0. So we write from GPIO0, we import the LED class, all capital LED. So this should import the LED class and all of its functions. So next we're going to define what GPIO pin we're using to turn on the LED by just saying red, which is going to be the name of our LED, that is a variable. We're going to say is equal to LED, and then here we're going to pass 4. So once you do that, now we can actually use the variable named red to turn our LED on and off by simply typing .on and .off. So now our LED is off, but when we run our program, the LED should turn on. So let's run our program, and there you can see that our LED turned on. So if we change .on to .off and run our program, you can see that our LED turns back off. We can keep on going back and forth on and off, and we'll keep on doing that once we run it. So that'll be it for part 3. If you learned something, then don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Keep a lookout for part 4 of this series. And I'll see you next time. Bye!